That's pretty good. Hello everyone, it's Lynn again, and I am here today to do something I've never done before, which is breaking down my post-production process and how I edit my YouTube videos. I'm very proud of how I've improved in filming, editing, color grading in just the last few years. I've been doing YouTube for God knows how long now. It feels like forever. And the way I would describe my stuff is, it's like a digital scrapbook. Some of my favorite videos I've edited to date, my Northern Lights video back in 2024, the postcards from the Japanese seaside that came out last month, and a California vlog where I visited SoCal with my dad and my brother. And I'm super excited to give you a 101 just to show you the inner workings of my brain. This video will be long and I might ramble on a bit. So, I would grab some food or a bev, maybe a notebook to, take notes. But I am not here to sell you a LUT because I don't think I'm qualified to sell a LUT or a preset, but hopefully you will get a sense of how much fun I have when I'm here in my office, behind my laptop, on my iPad, because it's really in post-production where I feel like I have the most room for play and I get to experiment. I make stuff I like and it's cool. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. Now, before we begin, I have everything written in my notebook right here, and I'm gonna answer some frequently asked questions very quickly. First off, what camera do I use? I use the Sony FX3 16-35mm, 24-105mm, and 20-70mm lens. I'll make a separate video about camera equipment. I will say I'm not the best with cameras. I don't know a ton about it. I shoot on auto settings. A lot of people ask what settings I shoot on, and it alarms people when I tell them that I don't shoot in S-Log. If you don't know the difference, Rec 709, which I shoot in, is like the process image, and S-Log is the one that has a lot of color, light information, so it's a bigger file, and you get a lot more freedom when you're editing the color in post. I have shot in S-Log before. I have not fully transitioned into using it. Will I this year? I hope so. And another hot take of mine is I shoot in 4K 60 FPS. That's mostly because when I shoot outside, it gives me a lot more leeway if the clip is too short or I want to slow down the moment. And I do export everything on 4K 30 FPS. In general, for social media platforms where you're watching short format content, I think 1080 30 FPS looks the best because Instagram tends to compress things that are like 4K, so the quality is gonna look a little bit iffy. And I do all of my editing in Final Cut Pro. I also use Premiere Pro. I started out on iMovie on the MacBook Air, then I learned Premiere in high school, and now Final Cut is my go-to. I also think Final Cut Pro runs better since I edit on a laptop. If I were editing on my PC, I'd probably use Premiere more often because it can take the workload I put onto a timeline. I was a big proponent of Final Cut, a lot of the Adobe products, and I use them. They use a subscription model that the pricing model is not something I agree with. I recently got kicked off of the student discount and now it's like $75 a month. But literally in recent news, Apple released a very similar subscription pricing model. So I'm like, you should just use DaVinci, that's free. Other applications I use that aren't video, I use Procreate, Feather 3D, Photoshop, and Lightroom. And before you start editing, these are things I wish someone told me early on. First off, you should be editing with an SSD, okay? Video clips take up a lot of space, so you can edit by proxy by leaving the files in here, plugging it into your computer, and then it'll show up in your library when it's connected. Voila, really makes your editing process a lot easier, smoother, faster.
So bad news, everything memory related, including SSDs, hard drives, SD cards, all very important for video editing, have gone way up in price for the average consumer. And it's ridiculous, and it's because AI, all these companies buying it up for data centers. And it raises a bigger question of we as people just don't own anything anymore. And that includes subscription pricing models and cloud storage. We just physically don't have things in our possession, and it's concerning. And I hate AI. Anyways, I won't be transitioning to S-Log anytime soon because I'm down to my last SSD, and S-Log files are significantly bigger. So
and you should learn the keyboard shortcuts. You can even customize them to your liking, so you don't have to go back and forth and click between settings with your mouse, which is also bad for your hand. And as someone who has injured their wrist from doing too much creative stuff and had to go to physical therapy, it eases up a lot of the strain you'll put on your hand. And in terms of my inspiration, I would actually say I draw a lot more inspiration from animations. That includes, TV shows, animes, movies, video games. I also read a lot. I love books, illustration and graphic design, and music videos. I have an entire Pinterest board dedicated to my YouTube, so I'll link it below if you'd like to check it out. And I also encourage you to curate and collect what you like and, put it up somewhere physically or digitally, so you can start to grasp an understanding of what your editing style might come to be. Okay, now that we're in Final Cut Pro, we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes. So my order of operations as an overview. First, I find music, then I sort, sequence, and cut, then color, graphics, sound effects, voiceovers, and then final review. Finding music is number one because it is the undercurrent of everything I make. It determines the way I approach a video or a project. So I do have go-to music that I use for home vlogs, for chatty videos. A lot of these are from aekasora and louie on bandcamp. And I think Epidemic Sound is great for background music, for sound effects, for vocal tracks. They have a great feature where you can input songs from Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and it'll find songs in a similar theme, genre, BPM for you. And after I find my music, I go into my library and I place down all my clips. I like putting everything on my timeline and seeing it all in one place. I prefer to do all of the sequencing first because, as you can tell, I tend to overshoot. And when I make chit chat videos, I tend to talk too much. So this whittles down what I have to correct and color. And before I do anything else, I want to get a good handle on what the storyline is. For videos where it's chronological, very linear, it's easy just to cut to the beat. Other times, even if it's a vlog where it goes day by day, each day feels more like a ball of clay, and I know how I feel, but I don't know what is the form that I want to put the feeling into. Music really helps determine that form. If what I shot or what I chose musically isn't sufficient, I'll incorporate other elements that I'm capable of making. So for example, in the Matsuyama video, I made postcards that guide my narrative. From there, I also decided to input my own handwriting as I'm making these voiceovers. Other things I've done in the past, and I'll talk about later in the video, for my Japanese Taiwanese haul, I did a catalog format. I really want to draw upon that feeling of you get a magazine in the mail as a kid and then you circle the things that you want for the holidays or your birthday, you know? I'm just big on a theme, I'm big on a concept, and the medium is the massage, okay? This timeline isn't too intense, but this is typically what a finished timeline looks like. And sequencing feels very intuitive to me. What clip comes first, what comes next, da 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 da. For the Japanese postcard video, on the second day, I chose to begin with a compilation of detail shots that give you a look into the traits of this seaside town. Prefecture is known for oranges, so they have orange mascots everywhere. And this town is by the beach where the water is beautiful and blue and green. These first 5 clips give you the feeling of being by the ocean, but you haven't actually seen a wide shot of the beach or the water yet. Before that happens, I introduce another important aspect of this day, which is I ride a bicycle everywhere. So the next sequence is bicycle, me getting on, you know? And finally, as the voiceover kicks in, the frame fully opens up. So you finally see me, the bicycle, the ocean, all in one shot. So the way you order your clips can feel very logical. It's because you're closing in on a subject or you're building and opening up to a big reveal, big moment. I also keep in mind contrast in terms of big versus small, warm versus cold, dark versus bright. And if you're using music or voiceover, I like to edit the clips to the beat of the music or the lyrics or the words that you're saying. Something that is easy to learn and pick up is you look at where your audio peaks are to see where your clip should end and begin if you're editing to the bass line or the melody. As a kid, you probably learned how to count how far lightning is from you based on when the thunder comes. So light travels faster than sound, so a clip generally should appear before a peak, not on the peak, for it to sync up properly. I tend to have a good memory of what I've shot, even if some time has passed. But when I make talking videos, I never remember where I said my line perfectly, so it's helpful to look at the gaps where the audio peaks to identify those key moments. And while I'm cutting, I also take note of what audio tracks from my clips I want to use. You can see this clip right here, 68401, is the sound of the ocean, and I decided to drag it out and use it under all of these clips to create that environment. And a lesson I'm still learning myself is you should let clips breathe. When I first started video editing, everything was very quick paced, but you need a balance between slower, longer frames and then these more cut, choppy sequences. This is why I like shooting in 60 FPS so I can maximize how long a clip can be.
Secret emerald grove of cedar trees and pines. I walk for miles and miles. All the colors.
And after I've cut everything down, this is where I move to color. I wasn't joking about selling a LUT because I don't even have presets that I've saved. I literally copy and paste from other clips in other projects onto whatever I'm working on, which is probably not the most efficient, huh? To show you how I color grade, I'm going to use my Japan-Taiwan haul video and break down each panel. I use color curves, hue and saturation curves, and color wheels. Sometimes I'll also use a color board if I need a quick basic correction. If you're shooting in log, there's one extra step you need to do. You go into the information tab, and then right here, most editing applications have the LUTs pre-installed. Just click the one you're supposed to use, and then from there you can make all your color adjustments, which I'm gonna run you through now. For people who are new to color grading, I just recommend one, experimenting, throw things out of balance and then bring them back to balance. A lot of it is just tinkering and figuring out what you like. So I recommend also recreating frames, stills, colors from photos and videos that you like. We've unclicked everything. This is what the Rec 709 footage looks like. So I tend to start with the color curves. You can see here, I like to include 3 different colors in the shadows, highlights, and midtones. I don't mess too much with the temperature and tint. There's a big difference in the before and after. The image feels a little bit more flat because the shadows and midtones are lifted. I also look a little bit more sickly because in the highlights, we have a cool tone color. I like to put greens and yellows in there. And to fix that, we are going to go into hue and saturation, which is where I slightly adjust some of the reds, yellows, oranges, aka the skin tones, so we bring some life back into my face. I don't look like a sickly Victorian child anymore. The way you select a specific color, let's say I want to select just the yellow. I'm going to put 2 anchor points in the green and in the orange, and you're going to make an anchor point for the yellow and drag it up, drag it down, and then you can do this for the hue. You can also do this to pinpoint the saturation. I use hue versus luma the most when I'm adjusting very sunny landscape shots. So if the sky is super exposed, or if the greens and yellows are just, wow, super bright and you're losing a lot of detail, you can adjust it here. But when I'm at home and I have a lighting setup, I don't usually need to use this. And then last but not least, we have color curves. I was very intimidated by the color curves for a while because why would y equals mx plus b be part of my color grading process, But it's actually pretty simple and it's a game changer once you learn how to use it. The first one is the brightness. Then the red, green, blue curve have corresponding colors on either side of this linear line. So for the red line, down here is cyan, above is red. For green, you have green and magenta, and blue is blue and yellow. Most of the adjustments I make are in my highlights. Generally, when you draw and paint, you try to avoid using plain titanium white. Usually mix it with other colors. It just makes the highlights look a lot more interesting. I mostly use it to add a cyan and yellow tint into the brightest parts of my video. And in Final Cut, you can also add vignettes. This vignette adds a lot of contrast and saturation. So I account for that by making sure I desaturate and flatten the image a little bit with my color adjustment layers. Now, if you want to go a step further and you want to selectively add color or select certain parts of the frame, on this cloudy day where I visited a daffodil field, I did not like how the ocean looks so gray. This is what it looked like, and I wanted to add more color. As you can see here with this adjustment layer, there's a mask. It fades off as it reaches the highway fence. And then in the highlights, I really dragged up that blue. You can see how the color just fills up the ocean and makes it feel a lot more magical and beautiful. The masking is not perfect. You can see how it kind of bleeds onto my hair here, but you know, I got the job done, okay? I also downloaded these 8mm film effects a long time ago. I don't use them as much anymore. It comes with a bunch of texture packs, light leaks that are great for transitions. I like using these for B-roll sequences, or when I have footage that wasn't shot on the same camera as my A cam. I worry a lot less about the quality difference if I can just slap a film frame on it. And a quick rundown of transforming and transitions. All my videos open up with a circle transition, which I did get from Animal Crossing, so shout out Animal Crossing for being my day one. But now I use this star transition, which feels very unique. It's hand drawn on the iPad. Essentially, you just draw a white star that's growing bigger and bigger, and then you use darken in your blend mode. You can see the compositing tab on the right hand side, and then it'll open up to your image. Now for my favorite part, graphics. I have so many interests and hobbies that includes illustration, graphic design, making physical stuff, scanning it in, painting. I'm not a minimalist. I can't just put together a video and then feel like it's done. This is where I get to have fun and play and try new things. There's a trend where people were like, bring fun makeup looks back. And then the people who always do fun makeup are like, we've always been doing fun makeup, we never went away. That's me with my YouTube videos. I like adding in the hand-drawn touches. I like doing dramatic movie title sequences. I like it when things look like magazine spreads, and I would be bored if I didn't do it, so that's why I do it. There are 3 main applications I use. It's Procreate, Photoshop, and Feather 3D. If you're looking for free options, Adobe Fresco, Blender, but it's on Procreate where I make a ton of my illustrations, my animations, where I do detailed masking work. You can see here, there's an animation assist in Procreate, and that's how I carefully cut out each scrapbook page because the object recognition in Photoshop was not doing it justice whatsoever. So I decided to pull the entire Photoshop file into Procreate, go in and hand erase each frame. Yeah, I like suffering. Look at this cute illustration I made of Kayla for my Hinge campaign. This is a cutscene animation I drew for my Vietnam vlog. This play of Gum Thumb is one of my favorites. It's so cute. And if you scroll really far back, I used to make these illustrations for my intro sequences and then leave a transparent cutout so I can put clips, compilations of my vlog. I miss this era of YouTube when people would make intro cards like this in After Effects, or they would also draw it. And if you're curious on how I make my handwriting squiggle, I just trace the same thing 2 or 3 times, and then you can export it as a PNG that's animated, adjust the frames per second before you save it, and then you can put that right onto your timeline. Usually I prefer a physical sketchbook, pen and paper when I'm drafting things, but I'll also use Procreate to plan out videos. You can see my early ideas here in terms of color, font, layouts of the postcards. Now in Feather 3D, I haven't used it as much for my YouTube videos, but in my doom scrolling video, I wanted to make a 3D phone that can rotate. This isn't exactly 3D modeling. It's not comparable to Blender, but it's like grease pencil. So you illustrate each layer and you draw on 3D planes that you can create yourself. So that's how I made this cute little phone. And there's Kayla. One of my favorite things I've made to this date, Nintendo invited me to preview the Switch 2 and play Mario Kart World, and I decided to draw the new console with Mario. I think Nintendo did see me post this, but they did not send me a Switch 2, which it's all good. It's for the love of the game, you know?
I am going to apologize. Editing Lynn is back because my audio cut in and out a lot during this portion as I was explaining how I use Photoshop. So I'm not a graphic designer by trade, but I can appreciate good design. And so it's just another element that I use to take my videos to the next level. And that includes the marketing of videos. You know, thumbnails are very important nowadays on pretty much every social media platform. And also within my videos, I have a lot of fun choosing fun fonts. It's also super easy to mask out things in Photoshop. Sometimes it's not perfect, hence why I do it manually from time to time on my iPad. The overall interface of Photoshop is a lot easier for me to navigate when it comes to doing titles or graphic heavy sequences, and plus when I export it, I usually have all the layers compressed into one image, whereas if I were creating it in a video editing software, it'd be a lot of layers stacked upon one each other, right? And the downside of that is you can't edit it within the player. You have to go back to Photoshop. But I find that since I edit on my laptop, without as many files in my timeline, it runs a lot smoother. So all those benefits and the fact that I've been using Photoshop since I was 12 probably, I'm so familiar with the software, it's really easy to get what I want to get done.
In terms of graphics I make within Final Cut Pro, it's mainly using basic titles. I rely more on my font choices for my graphic impact.
Here are some fonts that are my go-to and also how I might use them or pair them, the combinations, you know. And most of these come with Final Cut Pro, or it's free. You can easily find it online and install it onto your desktop. I also use Adobe fonts to source fonts. They've gotten pretty good at getting a diverse catalog, including fun and interesting fonts for different languages. Something I struggled with in the past is finding things that include all the diacritics in Vietnamese. Adobe Fonts is paid. I also used dafont.com back in the day, and that's how I found fresh and stylistic fonts that made me excited to add titles to my videos.
Some general tips I have: negative space is a good thing. Don't overuse that cinematic yellow color, you know, been there, done that. I always notice when people don't adjust the spacing between the letters or the lines. And the most important thing, you should be able to read what you typed out, okay? So it's accessible. There's templates online of title layouts that you can use and then just adjust the colors and fonts. Sound effects, woo! I'm literally just gonna tell you the type of sound effects I use. So for comedic effects, I like using Minecraft noises. Grew up on Minecraft. I think it's funny. Love a good quack. I remember when Grace Helbig used it in her YouTube videos, so that's where I got that from. The anime wow, when something cool happens, it's like wow. A recent addition to my soundboard is Squidward walking. I also love like the audience reactions, like cheering, booing, oh, you know. And then when something exciting happens, I have a party noise and like a popping sound that I accompany with like kids cheering. And for emphasis and movement, I like using swooshes, camera sounds like film loading, a flash going off, a camera clicking, also computer sound effects like typing, a mouse click. For more subtle emphasis, I have this electric ticking and this suction pop. And every editor knows there is a YouTube to MP3/MP4 website that looks sketchy, but is reliable. And then last but not least, I add voiceovers and captioning to my videos. I don't typically script my videos like crazy. A lot of it is just off the top, like this is just off the top of my head right now. For my more serious videos, I mean, I don't write too seriously. Sometimes I take lines and paragraphs from my journals or things that I wrote in the moment I experienced something. So those feel very visceral, honest. Other times I'll just use voiceovers, captioning to plainly explain what's going on. And that's usually my final step of a video. Then we move on to the final review. I am pretty meticulous nowadays. I watch everything on the timeline before I export, and then I watch it again after I export. Sometimes upon processing and exporting your video, maybe the application misses rendering some things, or there's a file that's unlinked, and you want to be able to catch that before you publish anything. When you're looking at a final timeline, you try to keep it as organized as possible. It's a little bit harder in Final Cut Pro because you can't have dedicated channels to like sound effects. It all magnetically clips together in Final Cut. So I try to use compound clips, which is like nesting things together. And make sure you have the correct export settings. H.264, multipass better. Make sure your resolution and your frame rate is correct. And from there, you upload and then you publish. And that's how I edit my YouTube videos. Thank you for watching. I'm sure you might have questions on things that I missed, so please leave them down in the comment section below. I've gotten pretty good and fast at editing over the years. I wanted to learn how to edit the basic stuff quickly and efficiently so I have more time to do the things that make my videos feel like me. And it's been so useful too when I was in college for applying to internships. So if you don't want to be an editor or filmmaker or a YouTuber full-time. It's still an extremely technical skill that you can just have under your belt and know the basics of. But yes, thank you for watching my video. Stay safe, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I hope you learned a lot.